viewers, welcome to the Postgraduate Diploma in Environmental and Occupational Health of Indira Gandhi National Open University. So, the curriculum which is prepared for this program is relevant and also significant in the present day scenario. This program is in consensus with the mission of environmental and occupational health, which is to prevent adverse health effects which are related to chemical, biological contaminants in the environment and also the occupational exposures through education, research as well as the service. Today, we will discuss one of the elective course that is titled Industrial Sector with a course code MEVE 004. So, in this industrial sector, today we will discuss about the textile industry as a part of manufacturing sector that has been one of the important sectors to contribute towards country's economy. It contributes 14% to the industrial production and 3% to the gross domestic production, that is a GDP, and 8% to the total excise revenue collection and 17% to the country's export earnings, and also most importantly it provides a direct employment to over 35 million people in India today. So, today's textile industry that has been globalized and also it is sustained to the global market and overall growth of the Indian textile sector, which becomes the factor of more important, and global leaders also they are looking for the India's that is a textile sector, but the growth should not be in the expense of the environmental degradation. So, whatever it is the industry, we will see in the perspective of the degradation, environmental degradation. So, the environmental sustainability that will need to be factored into India's textile manufacturing growth plans. So, the environmental degradation by the way of pollution of land, air and also water that occurs during the procurement and use of natural resources and the industrial process as well as the activities and the products which are used as well as the disposed. So, especially in textile industry, the fibers normally we will use, they are mainly of two types. One is the natural fiber, second one is the man-made fiber. So, natural fibers which are obviously coming from the plants, that is cultivated naturally, as well as the man-made fibers, they are marketed as the synthetic fiber. So, they are regenerated from the natural resources or sometimes it may be produced from the chemicals. So, some examples if you will see that cotton from the cotton plant and some other fabric that is a linen that is from the flax plant, and also silk from the silkworm and wool from the sheep. So, all these things we know, but the cultivation of natural fiber that stresses very heavily on the consumption of the fertilizer, pesticide as well as the fungicide. So, one of the studies has revealed that cotton cultivation consumes only 3% of world's farmland, but uses about 25% of the total world's the pesticide load. So, it also prevent the stain on cotton fiber. There are many hazardous chemicals like defoliants, those have been used to the cotton plant before harvesting to remove the leaves from the plant. So, the amount of cotton fiber required for making a one t-shirt, just imagine, and also one pair of jeans that consumes over 0.05 kg of toxic chemicals. So, imagine that. So, the water which is required for irrigation during cotton cultivation that is exceeds profusely for same amount of synthetic fiber production also. So, synthetic fibers are not exceptional. They are man-made, they are usually from the chemical sources and also they contain some filament fibers. So, these filament fibers which are necessarily have to be spun into yarn. So, that we also know. So, for example, viscose. So, it comes from the pine trees or sometimes it may be synthesized from the petrochemicals. Acrylic, nylon and then polyester which are synthesized from the oil as well as coal. Nylon as well as polyester mostly used textile fibers after cotton normally in our country, that is India, which is synthesized from the polyester byproduct. If you will see the air pollution from this textile industry especially, so the chemical processing of these textiles is highly responsible for the surrounding air pollution. Of course, it is a transboundary in nature, so it will definitely travel from one place to the other due to evaporation of the effluents. So, the evaporation rate, that is depends upon the surrounding temperature. For example, nitrous oxide, sulfur oxide, particulate matter, all these chemicals are released from the boilers and of the industry, textile industry, and volatile organic compounds are coming from the drying as well as the coating procedures of this textile industry. Hydrocarbons and ammonia from the printing process, from finishing process formaldehyde vapors and volatile organic compounds, combustion gases will release, high temperatures, all these causes the air pollution, that promoting emission from effluents like ammonia, sulfides, and also induces volatilities of these oil as well as grease by adding organic compound in the air. Instead, use of fossil fuel in boilers also leads to carbon dioxide as well as the sulfur dioxide emission, and the application of stain removers on fabric, that is also one of the procedure in the textile industry, that causes carbon tetrachloride emission, and also use of the sodium hypochlorite, that is a bleaching agent, that also leads to the emission of chlorine gas into the air. That is for the part of air pollution. If we will look into the water pollution, how this water pollution can happen because of this textile industry. During the chemical processing like dyeing, printing, and then finishing process of the textile industry, a number of toxic chemicals they are used to enhance these processes are more efficient, that like dye, acid, alkali, detergents like salt, acid, alkali, bleaching, and also the finishing agents as well as the softeners. So, the utilized chemicals with huge water, they discharged as effluent is the main source of hazardous compounds which are created from this process. So, the chemicals in effluents, they may have the unutilized dyes also sometimes. They will not be used and then as such they will come out, and then acid, soap, detergent, enzyme, dye, fixing agents, and chlorinated stain removers, and most importantly chromium compounds, heavy metals, and also some auxiliary chemicals that make it toxic. So, it was found from the report that about 20% of effluents, those that holds are unfixed dyes as well as the auxiliaries. So, the major pollution that indicating parameters in effluents are, obviously we know that chemical oxygen demand, that is the COD, biochemical oxygen demand, that is BOD, and total dissolved solids, that is a TDS, and suspended solids, that is SS, pH, color, and the presence of heavy metals. Also impurities like oils, fats, waxes, seed particles, spinning oils, amines which are generated from the reduction of dyes, and natural starch also contribute for the pollution, indicating the parameters in the effluents and also make it highly dangerous to the environment. So, if we will see the solid pollutants. Solid pollutants, normally fibers are there, yarn, cloth scraps, as well as the scrape of cloth, and then wool, wax, vegetable matter, sometimes metal, as well as the oil form, and that is a wool wastewater treatment as well as the workshop processes. So, the byproduct like nitrous oxide, which is generated during the synthetic fiber production, which is also one of the powerful greenhouse gas and has 300 times more potential than the carbon dioxide for the destruction of the stratospheric ozone layer. And also there are many procedures like ginning, which is an interface between the firming and the industry, is a primary process step for the cotton fiber processing that is engaged in the separation of fibers from the cotton balls. So, the process needs a high speed machines That also, if once high speed machines are there, they generate high noise and cotton dust also in the workroom. So, fiber fragmentation that occurs in ginning machine due to the high speed beating of fiber by the ginning rollers, that results in the generation of micro as well as the fine dust in the ginning room. Maybe it is a 2.5 or PM 10 or otherwise PM less than 1. So, this dust in the is the mixture of the technical dust, that is the bits of fiber and fragments from the fiber surfaces, and also organic and the inorganic natural dust is also mixed with that. So, the ginning workers which are exposed to high noise for 8 to 12 hours on daily basis resulted in noise induced hearing loss of the workers. So, it is the biggest occupational hazard. So, wastewater which is released from this different processes like scoring, that is the first process which is carried out with or without chemicals at room temperature, or sometimes suitable higher temperatures also needed with the addition of suitable wetting agents, alkali and etc. we can say that. So, scoring removes all the waxes, pectins, and also makes the textile material hydrophilic or water absorbent. So, if we will see that the scoring of wheel, that is the example we can say that, and then second procedure is the mercerization. So, it is a process in which the textiles, typically we can say that cotton, they are treated with the caustic solution, that is the sodium hydroxide, to improve the properties like fiber strength as well as the shrink, age resistance, luster as well as the dye affinity. So, this caustic compound actually rearranges the cellulose molecules into fiber, thereby they will produce a lot of changes. Now, we will look into the system of dyeing. So, we know different colors are there are many colors of choice. So, how those colors are coming, how they are dyeing on a fabric. So, we have to understand the mechanism of dye. So, dye is obtained from the processing of the plant leaves, sometimes that is a natural. So, they are soaked in water and also fermented in order to convert the glycoside which is present inside, especially in the indigo plant. So, the glycoside indican naturally present in the plant, normally that causes the blue dye indigotin. That is one example I would like to give. So, the precipitate from the fermented leaf solution which is mixed with a strong base such as lye from the Indidophera tinctoria. So, and also this, especially this indigo color, the other one is also there, that is a Tyrian purple, that is also known as the Phoenician red or Phoenician purple, and also royal purple. So, there are so many names for this, imperial purple, or the imperial dye. It is a reddish purple, it is a natural dye. So, it is very surprising to see that it is a secretion which is produced by the several species of the predatory sea snails in the family of Myricidae, as well as the rock snails are also there. Originally, normally they will call it as murex. So, the natural products which are coming from the natural plants as well as the animals. So, the main chemical, that is 6,6-, that is the dibromo indigo. So, another type is the vat dyes. So, these dyes are essentially water insoluble and also contains at least 2 carbonyl groups, that is a C double bond O, that enables the dyes to be converted by means of reduction under the alkaline conditions into a corresponding water soluble as well as the leuco compound. So, in this form only that dye is absorbed by the cellulose and also followed by the many reactions like oxidation, the leuco compound regenerates the parent form, and also sometimes the insoluble vat dye within these fibers, they will remain as such. So, if we will observe some of the occupational hazards, most important is cotton dust in the weaving industry. Similarly, affects the workers like ginning as well as the spinning in processes. If suppose if you will see the ginning and also spinning, that is equally responsible for several health hazards of the workers, for the for instance nasopharyngeal cancer and also byssinosis, cough and then bronchial asthma. So here the most common is the byssinosis. It is also known as mill fever or the brown lung disease or the cotton bract disease, and also especially cotton workers lung, in which normally the asthma like symptoms will appear, and then especially it is disease of the lungs that is caused by the chronic inhalation of the dust particles from organic matter. So, organic matter over here, it is a cotton, flax, jute, hemp, which results in narrowing of the airways. If we will see the wastewater treatment methods, so there are so many methods of procedures are there in the textile industry. So, whatever it is the waste effluents which are coming from this industry can be treated, so before entering into the atmosphere. Especially there are three types of effluent treatments are there: primary, secondary as well as the tertiary. If you will see the primary treatment method, in that screening, sedimentation and equalization, neutralization and then chemical coagulation as well as the mechanical flocculation, these are the some of the procedures. So, if you will see the screening, that is the first and foremost step in the textile industry in the water treatment methods. The screening step removes the coarse suspended matters, for example rags, that is the pieces of fabric, fibers, yarns as well as the bar screens, and also mechanically cleaned fine screens which remove most of the fibers. And the next is sedimentation. In this fine suspended matter which is passed through the screens, that can be removed efficiently and also economical by the sedimentation. So this process is particularly useful for the treatment of waste that containing high percentages of the settleable solids. So the sedimentation tanks which are designed to make them smaller particles to settle under the gravity. So whatever it is the settled sludge that is removed from the sedimentation tanks by the mechanical scraping into the hoppers as well as pumping it out subsequently. So sedimentation is sometimes combined with the equalization operation. So what is equalization? So in equalization step, effluents which are collected into the sump pit, that is a big tank, the mixed influents are stirred by rotating agitators or by the blowing compressed air, so that will settle down. So the pit has a conical bottom for the enhancing the settlement of the solid particles, and the textile effluents which are highly variable in terms of pH and the lot of impurities. So individual process like effluents from the individual processes, they will severely affect the secondary treatment process of the effluent treatment. So it is necessary to mix all the discharges from the different processes. Next step is the neutralization. So normally pH values of cotton finishing effluents are on the alkaline side. So the pH value is especially equalized, the effluent that should be adjusted the pH. So use of the dilute sulfuric acid as well as the we can say that boiler flue gas rich in carbon dioxide are commonly used for this process. Since most of the secondary biological treatments are effective in the pH range of 5 to 9. So neutralization step is an important process to facilitate this process. And next is the chemical coagulation or the mechanical flocculation. So the finely divided suspended solids, they will and also the colloidal particles, they cannot be efficiently removed by the simple sedimentation by the gravity, whatever we have seen in the previous steps. So in such case, mechanical flocculation or the chemical coagulation is compulsory to be used. So in mechanical flocculation, the textile wastewater is passed through a tank under the continuous stirring process. So the finely divided suspended solids, they will release into the they will coalesce with into the larger particles and also settle out. So, specialized equipment like a clariflocculator, which is also available. In this, there is a flocculation chamber is a part of the sedimentation tank. So, this all these processes will comes under the primary treatment. If you will see the secondary treatment, that is the aerated lagoons are there, trickling filtration and activated sludge process, oxidation ditch or otherwise pod. So, the main purpose of the secondary treatment is to provide the biological oxygen demand removal beyond what is achievable by simple sedimentation. So, the removal of dissolved as well as the residual organic matter, that is in the aerobic mode, that is with the carbon dioxide as well as methane, or sometimes it may be it is an anaerobic mode also. So, it is achieved by the digestive action of bacteria under suitable conditions, nutrients, air, oxygen as well as the temperature. So, here it will reduce the COD, BOD as well as the toxicity in the secondary treatment. If you will see the tertiary process, that is the last process, that is the oxidation technique as well as the electrolytic precipitation method and foam fractionation, and also they will use the membrane technologies and the electrochemical processes. Sometimes it is ion exchange and photocatalytic degradation, absorption and thermal evaporation will taken place. So, especially here removing of dissolved solids, that is mineral salts, and also whatever the residual color and then odor. So, this will be processed in the tertiary procedure. So, after the treatment of water that can be safely discharged, or otherwise sometimes it can also reuse for the processing in order to reduce the TDS as well as the further purification of effluent which is carried out using the tertiary treatments. And membrane filtration techniques is also there, particularly RO, that has become popular because of the possibility of recycling treated water membrane filtration techniques, particularly reverse osmosis, that has become popular because of the recycling treated water. So far we have seen some of these treatment methods. So, now we can see that some of the special uses other than the various types of fabrics about the textile industry. So, textile materials have long been used for the medical purpose also. So, it is very surprising factor. So, in recent years with the advancement of the medical science, the fiber as well as the textile materials which are increasingly used as the artificial organs for our human body, for implantation into the body and also for the regenerative medicine. It is a beginning to the revolutionize and many traditional therapies. If you will see the picture, it shows some of the examples of the implantable textile materials. So, the human body is full of fibrous material like collagen, that is within the connective tissue, muscles, tendons, nerves, which resemble the flexible nature of textile materials. So, when a surgical implant is required, textile based materials that have combined properties of high strength and high flexibility, making them one of the best materials for the constructing many types of artificial organs with unique properties that cannot be obtained from the metals, ceramics or other forms of the biomedical materials. For example, if you will see that polyester filament which is used as the artificial tendons, polyester as well as the Teflon filaments, they are used as arteries, polyester filaments as heart valves, carbon polyacetal, polyethylene filaments are used as artificial bone, and polyester silk as well as the polyethylene filaments as artificial ligaments. So these type of medical uses also we can expect from the textile fabrics. So, I would like to give one of the case study which can have the adverse impact on the environment. So, that is the environmental conflict, especially in the Tirupur region, which is due to the large growth of the garment industries as well as the operation of bleaching as well as the dyeing units in the past 60 years. In 1941 itself, there were only 2 units, and by 1997 there were 866 units consuming about 90 million liters a day of water, and also releasing about 87 million liters of effluents per day into the Noyal river. So, it is a seasonal river that passes through the Coimbatore, Erode as well as the Karur in Tamil Nadu state during October as well as the December, and has return flows from the lower Bhavani project. So, more than half of the people reported experiencing health problems like diarrhea, cholera, and also more than 75% people are suffered with the skin disease. So, to avoid all these things, some important measures have to taken by that industry, either by the government policies. Some greener methods can be adopted in order to reduce the pollution, especially in the preparatory process itself. So, textile materials that contains, we know that diverse impurities, and also some are natural and some may be added intentionally for better textile manufacturing. But all these impurities have to be removed before dyeing or otherwise printing process by pre-treatment methods. So, whatever the effluents we have seen previously. So, in cleaning process like singeing, that is the removal of the projecting fibers, and then desizing, that is the removal of starch as well as the other sizes applied to the wrap ions, and scouring, that is the removal of the natural as well as the acquired or we can say that applied impurities. So, in bleaching are the destruction of coloring matters. So, the most important application of the green chemistry in textile preparatory process is the use of enzymes. So, using another important method is also there, that is the air dyeing technology that can be used without polluting water as well as the environment. So, instead of a use of the polyvinyl alcohol for sizing, that is the use of potato starch or carboxymethyl cellulose, which is a cellulose which is dissolved by an acid to become a liquid that can be used. And also it is used in the food, and it is chemically inert, non-toxic in nature, and also allowed under the Global Organic Textile Standard 2.3.5. So, learner, I would like to conclude here. It is discussed so far that the fashion industry uses 93 billion cubic meters of water annually. Finishing, dyeing is one of the most polluting and energy intensive procedures which are involved in making clothes. So, once in the wastewater, these dyeing chemicals are difficult to remove, and also these substances do not degrade so easily. So, they remain in the environment for longer duration. So, there are various types of dyes which are used for the different fabrics and synthetic nitrogen based dyes that can increase the risk of cancer. But the poor regulation of the industry is taking a toll on its rivers, and also the R&D which needs to step up and step in to give us value products in a value environment. Thank you.